is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Around the Seven Kingdoms. I am your host, Stovetop Stefan. I'm joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Mr. Kurt Belissaris. What's up, Kurt?
Hi. How's it going?
We are fresh back from our Nats trip, and we had a little bit of a break to decompress from Nats and get everybody's kind of opinion going down. And we're going to jump right into our Nats coverage of what you thought happened in the last two rounds. I know we got through your first four rounds pretty easily on the recap show, but your last two rounds were versus
Played Javor.
Oh, you played,
and then I played. I played against his Lannisters, and he ran Gregor Commander in Cutthroats. With Tywin and I'd Scarcely Rock. So I countered that by having Salutes and Shireen. So even if he did kill a unit with the Tywin bomb, no, he didn't. And I just wore him down. That's the Baratheon way.
Game mode was Feast of Crows.
Mm-hmm.
This was the. Did that one go to time on you?
No, we finished.
Oh, you finished.
He got. I grabbed the first corpse file, which he then wrestled away from me, and then I wasn't on the other corpse file, so he actually got to a 1-0 lead early. But then I killed one of his units. I don't remember actually. Someone's unit died, which created a corpse file. I want to say I was the one that killed a unit and then got a corpse file, and then I had a pile and a killed unit, so I evened up the score.
Yeah, because it ended up being 10-7 you.
Yeah, it was going to be a minor, and we were pretty close to just like calling it just a minor win for me. And then we were like just kind of talking through like what could happen. And he was like, okay, well, I would like place an NCU here or whatever, and then I'd activate this unit, he'd activate that unit, yada yada. So we basically came down to I could attempt a charge against his crossbows with my Kingsmen. And so I did, and I got the charge. I needed like a 4, I want to say, and so I rolled like a 4, and I got the charge. And then he didn't have crown, so I had my crit blow sundering rerolls, and I was on 2 ranks, so I rolled. I just got like the luckiest roll of the whole tournament, which was 5 6s and 1 5. So that comes out to 11 hits sundering with critical blow. If you're following the math on that. And I had a vulnerable token on him and a panic token on him. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to re-roll because I like what I rolled. And then I don't think he blocked a single one. He rolled really poorly and then failed the panic test. So my minor victory became a standard victory against Javor.
That's clutch.
Great opponent. Loved playing with him.
Jan's always fun to play against.
Yeah.
He is having a kid though, so he's probably going to be done with.
So I was happy to send him out with a bang. And then I played Trial Fam.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
That was the round that Mr. Brett and Bob, the new Bob from California,
or Mazium,
played the draw. Where when they deployed, and he came over during one of the streams and kind of tried to explain to it, but it's kind of hard to hear him. So the way it was told to me was after they picked their list, they both set up skew to each other off of the other corpse pile, like one set up on one side, one set up on the other side. And as they set up, nobody moved towards the center. And so, like, after the first, like, 2 or 3 turns of activations, they were like, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move. And they both kind of sat there like, all right, well, we're just going to draw then because nobody's going to move.
Yeah.
And they both had the same points on the table. So.
And that's also the same round where Jordan played Trial Fam at the top table.
Yep.
And it was almost like a trial run for Jordan. He was going up against Martell's, Trial Fam's Martell's.
Mm-hmm.
Could he hold on to that top table spot?
Well,
going up against Martell's again.
They were, and that was on stream, they were actually clubmates.
Mm.
So when they played each other, they've played each other like 1,000 times in that matchup.
Yeah.
And so it was like, when you're following along with them, and they're like, oh, even after the game, after I turned off the stream, they're like, damn, if I would have done it like this game 2 days ago, I probably would have fucking taken it from you. And they're just like kind of tit for tat in each other. I thought it was pretty cool.
And that game was streamed. That game was.
Yeah, that game was streamed. And that was, honestly, Jordan's games, Yorborough on Discord, his games were a masterclass of ranged attacks. Like, he did exactly what he was supposed to do up until the last game, where he crunched into a quarter, and that's what we'll go through the last game.
We will cover that.
Yeah. So, like, your round 6 game.
So my round 6 was against Trial Fam, who had just been knocked out by Jordan on the top table in the round before. So he had his Oberyn list, and I had my Stannis list. My Stannis, once your king, can do a lot of healing. So I wanted to keep my Kingsmen away from his Oberyn. He went with Oberyn kind of in the center, and I threw Stannis on an extreme flank. And I managed to get the horse in round 1, plus my tactic position, plus my activation, to really aggressively push up that flank and get into charge range of his Golden Company crossbows. So I was able to eliminate both his Golden Company crossbows and his Starfall Outriders really early in round 2.
That's clutch.
And at that point, all I had to do was sit on objectives and just win the mission.
It was still close because it was still 8-6.
Yeah, so like I said, all I had to do was sit on objectives and win the mission. And I didn't do that. I thought I had a chance to table him. So I went aggressive into his skirmishers and Oberyn Royal Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Some unfortunate dice rolls occurred where those skirmishers getting hit in the flank blocked every hit when I charged my scouts in. And then just the attrition of Martell cards started to add up to where I ended up not killing those 2 units I thought I was going to kill. And I ended up losing my archers to the Oberyn poison or venom. And I lost my scouts. At which point I just had to back off and just hold some objectives and not throw the game. So I managed to pull out the narrow win there. If I had gotten a crushing win, it only would have put me up 1 spot in the rankings. I went and checked the secondary points. So I finished 7th with a 5-1 record.
Yay! Good job.
Same record I had last year, but the degree of victory matters in those games. And last year I had more crushing wins And this year I did not have as many. So instead of finishing third, I finished seventh. I'm pretty happy with that result for myself. I finished as a top Baratheon again this year. And we had that's nice. And we had four Kansas City players finish in the top 15. Two best in factions. So Mike got best Night's Watch, and he finished in fifth. And the only game I lost was to Micah, so you know.
A weird third round, weird pairing situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
so Micah got fifth.
Yeah,
I got seventh. I want to say Wes got. Did he get 11th or 10th? Let me double check that. Players. Wes got 11th with the Targaryens, and Brandon Cronesaholic also got with his Targaryens. He got 15th. So very happy with how my players did. I thought we represented ourselves well in our local scene, and maybe next year we can come away with the W. But this year we had a new champion.
Meaux from Louisiana, which we'll interview here probably here in a little bit. And he played Martell's, and he played a master class that last round, and we'll go through it with him. But how do you feel like the competition was this year compared to last year? Do you think it was harder, or do you think it was easier?
For the people I matched up against individually? That's a good question.
You said you didn't get as many crushings.
I think I actually, I don't know. I think I had more pressure last year for whatever reason. Which I don't even know if that's like accurate, because I was kind of struggling on the struggle bus leading up to this event, and like was not feeling confident going in. But yet the games I felt went more smoothly, even though I didn't necessarily pull out crushing wins. I actually had a rematch. I played Alex Rodriguez, who I played last year, and I felt like that game went. Yeah, I feel like that game went pretty well for me. I didn't have to face Mark Rupp this year, and anytime I face Mark Rupp, I feel completely outclassed. Like, he's just really good. I mean, to finish sixth place with Bolton speaks to his skill as a player.
And
to take one of the worst factions and to do that well.
His painted Boltons are gorgeous too.
Mm-hmm. So it's like I was thrilled that I didn't have to play against Mark Rupp. Not because he's a bad person. He's a wonderful person. But he's also just really good at the game. And so I was just glad I didn't draw him this time.
Yeah. We had N-Line on stream. That was a good match. I'm glad we got some Canadian representation on stream. Micah was on first table.
He was, yeah.
On the first stream with Edgehopper from Chicago area. That was a pretty good game with the super shooting scorpion craziness.
Yeah. Showing that Night's Watch is still alive and kicking. They're not dead.
That Benjen Stark is the only one that's keeping them alive, evidently.
Well, both Benjens.
Yeah, both Benjens. The other Benjen didn't do. I mean, he did okay.
One of them had a 100% win rate, and then the Foot Benjen was like what, 80% something.
Yeah, but it was only 2 games for the other guy.
3.
Was it 3? Yeah, either way.
Yeah, small sample, but yeah.
But so there was a total of what, 85? 83?
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout in terms of players. 83 entries.
Yep. Yeah,
so more than last year.
Had some retired after the first day, but I think all in all, it was pretty good.
pretty nice breakdown of factions.
Yeah, we can do that.
Starks, Baratheons, Lannisters, and Targaryens, and even Greyjoys, all really well represented.
Yeah, who was the
Martells were decently.
Was the most picked by factions.
Yep, 18% of entries were Baratheon, 16 Stark, 14 and 14 Lannister and Targaryen.
I really thought Lannister would be the top pick.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I thought leading up to this event, I spoke about it. Gregor in Castle Rock Honor Guard. I thought they were going to be the terror this year that Golden Company swords were last year. And to an extent they were. I mean, we did have some solid Lannister showings, and there was a lot of Gregor. And Gregor had a win rate
he was good.
Of 71%. So
how many? And they played like 30. He played like 30 games or something crazy.
17 Gregor games.
Okay.
17 games played, 12 of those wins. So it's not the biggest sample. It's only 17 games, but in terms of a major tournament, he was a popular commander, and he performed pretty well.
Yep, he did. So did, and we can go through some of the numbers real quick, and just some of the outliers that jumped out at me.
Bolton's at the top. I think a big part of that was, like I said, Mark Rupp running Bolton's. If you take him out of that equation, that's 5 less wins. That's half of their wins.
Yeah. Night's Watch with the next highest win percentage. I think, again, where was the after...
It was Micah and Ormazium.
Yep. I forgot about
there were some other Night's Watch players, I think. Kieran.
Yeah.
He placed pretty high. Those were the top 3. So 2 of those were with siege weapon lists, right? You had Ormazium Stone Throwers, and you had Micah's Scorpions.
Yep.
Showing that siege weapons, they're still very viable.
Well, especially, I think they're more viable now than they have been in the past because of the heavy cav meta, where everybody's running 2 cav, and they're trying to ram down your throat a bunch of fast-moving shit. And that thing counters it, and it makes the cav people do funny things with their cav maneuvers.
Well, I didn't run a double cav list. I ran a majority infantry list against Micah.
Yes, you did.
And it did not matter.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when I watched his game versus Edgehopper, and how if you run right at it, I feel like it just shoots you to shit and gets you on second rank real quick.
Yeah, I think it's a little game mode dependent. Now, the only match Micah did lose was Here We Stand, and that's where the opponent can deploy much further forward.
Yep.
And so because they had a shorter distance to cover, they were able to close that distance more quickly and apply that pressure much sooner, to where that was the one game he lost. And then Ormazium, he drew with Brett, but he didn't run his siege machine list against Brett. He ran his veteran list, which I kind of low-key think was a mistake, if you ask me. I think he should have ran his siege machines, siege weapons.
Man, I feel like sometimes those siege weapons can be hit or miss. And especially the stone thrower with only 2 dice on 4s. Like, if it doesn't...
but the map they were on was Feast for Crows.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up being very standoffish. If that was how Brett was going to play it, then... bombard the shit out of him, you know?
Yeah, but he's not gonna, and he's also. I can't remember which one he ran for that. Did he run? Where's it at? He ran. He ran Ed with Alistair. So he ran the double telecav. Yeah, I don't know that if those telecav touch those fucking war machines, they turn to dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think either way, that's a rough one.
Well, end result was very strong showing from Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm. Brett came in second with with Stark, not with.
He ran Starks, yeah.
And then Jordan Cook, who was on stream for 4 out of the 6 games, he came in third with his
Lannisters.
Yeah, he ran. I think he said he ran Tyrion the entire time.
Yeah.
He didn't run Greg at all. He just machine gun shot everything. And then, so in the stats, we were talking about win rates.
Yeah.
Night's Watch with the 58% win rate. Greyjoy right there too with them.
56, Lannister 55.
Greyjoy, Lannister, and Targaryen had the most games played.
Targaryen's 53%. Yeah.
All in the upper 50s. The Baratheon, sorry, forgot, had 76, but they are down there with their 46% win rate. Kurt propping him up by himself.
A little bit. So I did look. I was best in faction Baratheon. The next Baratheon player, you have to scroll all the way down until the 20s to find another Baratheon player in the final standings. And then, so that's a little disheartening to see. The rightful heir was subject to a change, which they changed tactical approach, which we've discussed. And that's one reason why I didn't run rightful heir, who I ran last year. I switched to One True King. And several people have given me pushback on the Discords, saying, oh, the tactical approach change is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And again, I'm totally fine with capping it at 2 wounds. I think the second copy going to 1 wound is what's the problem. And I think Nationals kind of reflects that. You don't see a rightful heir list until you get down into the 40s. So I think that was, again, I don't want to be like a broken record, but I think that was a change that they went a touch too far on. I don't think rightful heir was dominating tournament scenes. I think the best rightful heir performances were like what? I got third place with him last year. I got LVO 2 years ago with him. I think Fang won an event once with him. But never like a national event. Never. So yeah.
They don't like free wounds. They didn't like free.
Well, they're not free. You have to expend a token.
Well, now you have to expend a token. But I mean, you did before. But I'm saying
expert duelist, you don't.
No, an expert duelist. I will say I played a game this weekend versus Ethan, the Bolton player, the world-renowned Bolton player, and man, expert duelist. The one time I wanted it to come in handy for the secret. Get rid of the attachment. Yeah, the secret mission one, kill your commander. I was like, oh, if I don't kill the commander, I probably lose this game. Let's roll a 5+, and I rolled a 6, and I was like, yeah, kill the commander. And then proceeded.
Yeah, with the added upside of being able to make it the commander if you want it to be. Yeah.
Exactly. So I got the bonus points there. And then I assault orders overran into the ass of the next unit in front of me. And I felt bad for him. But that dude, you were talking about rolling sixes for crit blow. He charged me with rush of aggression on cutthroats and into my blood riders. And I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna, or no, it wasn't my blood riders, it was my outriders. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna use Zaro, so you only have 4 dice.
Yep. Zaro's so good.
And he was like, all right, man. And so he rolls his 4 dice, and I had 11 wounds on this unit that I had left on the outriders. 11 wounds, and he rolled 2 6s, and he missed the other 2. And he was like, I'm gonna re-roll these 2, and rolled them 2 6s. He rolled 4 6s, 8 attacks into me. I failed all of them. Then proceeded to crit fail the panic and kill the unit on 4 damn dice. I wanted to stand up and just be like, I'm done.
Can't let your outriders get caught like that.
Oh yeah, for real. Rush of aggression's hard. And there's one of the NCUs lets you go get it, a commander card. I can't remember, Waldo or one of them, I can't remember. One of their NCUs lets you go get commander cards. And he used it 4 damn times. He just kept going and cycling it and pulled it back and using it again. I'm like, but anyway.
Sanday can go fetch a card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So,
below Rathians,
well, I want to say
tokens.
Real quick, one of the other highly performing commanders that I thought was a little surprising was for Greyjoys was for Baelor Blacktide.
Okay.
Blacktide. With a 73% win rate, 15 games, and 11 wins. I did not see that coming. Did you see Baelor being the Greyjoy chosen?
I think when most people think Greyjoys, they think Victarion.
Or Asha.
I don't really know them well enough to speak much on Baelor.
Mm-hmm.
But how much of that is Baelor and how much of that is Balon?
I think a lot of it is Baelor because when we watched Alex Kirk, I can't remember what his last name, but he was on stream with his crazy Baelor list that had the Stony Shore Pillagers with
Alex Kirkendall, Chrome Badger.
Yeah. That he was rolling like 10 dice with like hitting on 2s or something. It was some crazy shit he was pulling with those cards because of like Black Tide Conviction and Black Tide Resentment. You pull all kinds of stuff. And he would take wounds. He would like run that Stony Shore Pillagers right up your butt and get him down to last rank with battle scars, and then he would pile on 10 attacks with them, and then next thing you know, they have all the keywords and 10 attacks, and they just mouth through your shit, and then they heal at the end of it because they could spend the tokens and heal. But
they can get that healing off. Otherwise, that's anytime you're talking about single rank kind of play, that's always dicey. That's always running a big risk. And I think that's what we kind of saw with Starks at this tournament.
Well, I feel like Greyjoys have the ability to heal that unit back up.
Yeah, Greyjoys have that ability to where they can play that kind of riskier style because they have the healing to back it up. Whereas the Starks less so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know they have Ned NCU and they have like the Tully Cavaliers or whatever, but
that's about it.
Their other units and their other NCUs don't really bring much healing to the table. And so you get these, can I play this casino game where I'm on one rank to get my bonuses. And that's always, you're on a knife's edge. And if you tip over, game over, man, you know. Starts down at 35% win rate with 66 games played. Free Folk, 45% win rate. So they were just behind Baratheons. Far fewer entries. They're just not as prominent here in the North American scene as they are over in Europe. But
too many models to paint.
But a 10-point drop from Free Folk to Starks, from 45% to 35%.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the lowly neutral had 0 win rate because
they weren't even represented. They're not a faction. So, Starks were really the short straw of this tournament. And I think they, as a faction, have a lot of potential. But, a big thing people complain about is, double Tully Cavalier, Winterfell Guardian, healing stuff.
Shit.
Yeah. But they need something else. I think anytime you have that play style where I'm going to be on one rank, it's always such a risk. And I think consistency and reliability are such integral parts to this game that, you can pop off with Great John Umber, and you could have Luke win Nationals 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But more often than not, less so.
Mm-hmm.
I value consistency. I value reliability, and I trade potentially bigger peaks to ensure that I have less valley lows. Just in my general philosophy and approach to the game. And I think this Nationals kind of shows that, played out to show that way.
Some of the other things I kind of wanted to talk about. How did you feel about the 2-hour time limit?
I liked it. I think I enjoy 2 hours as opposed to the 90-minute rounds or games. I don't think I had a single game go to time.
Okay.
2 hours gives everyone plenty of time to do everything they want to do and get their games played to completion. And really took a lot of the pressure off in terms of is this going to be the last round? Do I need to make my moves this round as if I'm not playing another round? Or do I need to make moves this round to set me up for next round? Or is there going to be a time limit where I'm not going to finish next round? It never came up. And not having that added stress and pressure was so great. So I definitely prefer the 2-hour rounds myself.
Nice. And like you said, you had nothing come to time, so there was no problem there.
Yeah, I never came to time on any of mine.
Yeah, I don't think anything on stream. I mean, they might have came close within 15 or 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think anything on stream went to time and had to be talked about. So that I know people were worried about the hard cutoff, but it seemed that people got to their spot and time was started, and they set up in a pretty quick manner. I think Evan did a pretty damn good job for only having himself and one other guy kind of helping him. So kudos.
I do have one criticism.
What's that?
Not at Evan personally, but at the way the rounds that the game modes that got picked when they got picked, or however they were selected. I think it was randomized, but I think I would put fail safes in place so that your last games are not either here we stand or wins a winner, because I think those take additional brain power that at the end of a 4-game day, you're going to be running close to empty. People are going to be fatigued. So I think a side note is like try to just make sure those are either played earlier on day one or played on day two, and like try not to make them be the end of the day stuff on day one.
Yeah, but nobody wants Here We Stand as the final round.
No, but you could have made it around 5.
Maybe. Yeah, I can see it, but I think you gotta have a little bit of random in there. Be able to think on your feet.
Like I said, it's my personal opinion on that. Just
What the food truck was sweet. Got some barbecue. Probably didn't live up to Kansas City barbecue standards. But again,
no comment.
Good job, Evan, getting the food truck there. Everything was sweet. We here at Sunday Slaughter gave away close to where did I wrote down the total? Close to $320 worth of gear and or prizes on stream. So thanks everybody for watching. I know I sent out a bunch of stuff last week, and I was getting messages of everybody getting their stuff. So cool. Thank you guys for watching. I know I enjoyed being there and hanging out with everybody. Even though I wasn't playing, it was still cool to go and hang out and talk to everybody and meet all the new communities. And that's probably my favorite part of all this is just hanging out with you guys and playing. What else? Anything else about Nats that you want to talk about before we move on?
I think what we probably want to tackle next is talking to the champ and seeing what he has to say.
Yep. And now here with us we have the US champion from 2024, Mo from Louisiana. What's up, Mo?
What's going on, guys? You're a real American hero here.
Yeah, the one that brought the U.S. Cup back to the U.S. from the Stinky Brit. So thank you. Thank you for doing
that. Small, dude.
This interview has taken a little bit of time. It's all blamed on Kurt. Mo said the same thing earlier. It's all Kurt's fault. So
Definitely.
We'll let him do the first couple questions off for Mo, and then I'll jump in and do some afterwards. But go ahead, Kurt. Fire away.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us, Mo. Oh my goodness.
Your cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mo, tell us a little bit about the Blackwater Bastards and your local group down in Louisiana, right?
Well, so I'm playing out of the club in Louisiana. I'm in Long Beach, Mississippi, like just under an hour away. But there's a small collection of us. There's the guys in Mississippi at Go for Games. Outstanding guys. If you guys ever get a chance to go down there, highly recommend it. Great store. Then I'm over here in Mississippi, and then I've got my core group of people that I mainly my boy Dover, 1943, great guy. If you ever get a chance to play him, he's over in the Mobile-ish area. And then there's another group of guys over at Level Up Games in Pensacola, Florida. So I travel back and forth an hour or two each way, pretty much to play any local game.
Just to get any game, you have to travel an hour. Wow.
Yeah. I think Pensacola is an hour and 40, and getting into New Orleans to get to those guys over there is like an hour 15. So.
And you don't have anyone else in Mississippi that plays with you?
Nope, it's just me, baby. I'm trying to set up a tournament following at a new place opening up here called the Adventurers Tavern. It's going to be a really neat place where they got a bar and grill inside the game shop.
Oh, badass.
Yeah, pretty excited about it. It's called like D&D themed or whatever. So I think they're slated for an opening in January, and I'm going to try to set up a tournament there and see if they have the room and everything to hold it. And if they do the tournament, I'll be running one there. Where the door prize is I buy the first round. So
That's badass.
yeah, man, I'm pretty excited about that.
Now, I feel you on the drive because I live in the middle between Columbus and Cleveland. So I drive a good 45, 50 minutes to Cleveland to play. Or if I have to go down to Columbus, it's an hour and a half drive for me to drive. So yeah, I feel you. Just to get those games in however you can is sometimes taxing on the drive.
Yeah, it's, I try to play TTS as much as I can, but TTS is. I'm not going to trash talk TTS, about like dice or anything.
You most certainly can because I do it all the time. Fuck TTS dice, it's fucking garbage. That random number generator is fucking shit. You always got to pick red, and if you don't pick red, you're fucked.
I don't know what happens in that game, but I have had games it robs a lot of the fun out of it for me sometimes. Because it's like either I'm winning and getting everything, or my opponent's winning and getting everything. And I'm like, I don't mind winning and losing as long as I actually get to play a game.
Yeah. It's not 5 6s and then 5 1s on your side.
Yeah. Oh man, I was making some saves on 4+ and I got 1 4 and everything else was 3 below. Like,
gotta love TTS dice.
There's a little PTSD in there. PTSD.
You join the Brett fan club with that one.
I mean, but to be fair, it's one of those things where you got to get it in where you can, and with it being a relatively free mod and a cheap entry, it's like without it, I would never got a chance to play some of like I played Keijo, Mazareth, like some of those guys. Without it, I would have had no access to those guys. So as much trash I want to talk about it sometimes, it is a great tool for anybody who's like a newer player or anybody who's just looking to get better. Like the dice may be a little funky sometimes, but that's where you're going to get a lot of access to great players if you don't have the ability to travel.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, for sure.
Good point.
Great point about the access to like really high ceiling talent players. How did you originally get into the game? Were you into wargaming before this, or was this your first foray into tabletop adventures? Tell us about your past.
I got into War Machine initially. Thought it was a great game. Really wanted to play it competitively because I was like, I really love tabletop gaming. And I was kind of like, I didn't want to pay GW prices. That was like my the big killer for me. So I couldn't do that. But I got into War Machine because it was a cheaper alternative, and it seemed like it was a relatively good game. And then just kind of out of nowhere, it was like they started making a bunch of changes and putting stuff into the game that I thought was a bit ludicrous, where to the point that there was at one time like a mercenary model that was like, if you don't play this thing, you do not actually have like a fair chance to win the game.
Those are never fun.
No, it's not a good thing that I enjoyed. So I kind of got out of that because I played a game with a buddy of mine, and it was like I played a few games, and it turned into a thing where like I know that skill dictates a lot of matchups, but I played a few games where me and the guys that I were playing were relatively on the same skill level, and it was just like the list determined automatically almost who won the game. Like unless you just absolutely threw it, you just didn't really have a chance. So I basically started looking for a war game, and I had actually never watched Game of Thrones, had not read any of the books at all. And my buddy Dozer was like, "Yo, man, if you haven't ever read these Game of Thrones books," so I started reading the book, and I immediately started watching the show. And then I, kind of finished the books up. I was like, "Oh, man, cool! This is pretty." And then I was actually at Level Up Games in Pensacola, just scouting around for something else to play, and saw Game of Thrones there and was like, get me. Like, I went straight to Baratheon. Love me some antlered helmets and big, big hammers and stuff. I was like, cool, dude. Immediately bought them and then went online and bought I didn't know if my friends were going to get into it. So I just forced their hand and bought like a Stark Lannister starter set and divided them. I was like, now you have to play with me because I bought you an army.
I've tried that so many times. It only works a couple times. Then they catch on.
Fortunately, my guys are pretty cool. My boy Pat he doesn't play competitively at all, but he's one of the most fun people I've ever played games with because he will straight up look at a 6-up charge and be like, yeah, that's fine. And
you mean there's a chance?
Yeah, he's that guy, dude. And I love him to death because he'll do just the most ridiculous things and he'll make it work because no one ever expects it. But yeah, so I got into it with those guys and just kind of took off from there. I always wanted to play war games competitively ever since I learned that there was a competitive scene for war games. And so I was like, as soon as I learned that Game of Thrones had one, and then we played the game for a while, I was like, all right, man, I'm pretty down to try this out.
Now you say you started out with a Baratheon army. When did you make the transition over to Martells, and how did you come about making that choice? Was that exposure through TTS or?
No, I actually just really like the characters from the books and the TV show, from the Martells and the Sand Skirmisher, Royal Guard, like that Persian type aesthetic is the thing I've always loved. So as soon as Martells came out, I dropped Baratheons, before I ever knew any of the Martell stuff even did, I just bought Martells, everything I could get, putting on pre-order. I was like, I don't care what it does, I'm playing this army now.
Love it.
I feel like that's the right way to do it. You play the characters you like, and the rest will fall into place.
You play your first love or your aesthetic love or what you love to paint, and you'll fall in love with the game from there, I feel like.
I mean, I will admit I am not a painter. I paint my models because I feel like it's just a thing. Like, if my opponent's going to take the time to paint their models, I should at least dedicate enough time to get a decent paint job on them. But if it wasn't for my girlfriend, nah, man. Some of those things would be very plastic and unbased.
Shout out to the girlfriend for painting Moe's army.
Yeah, I mean, I helped, but it was like batch painting is so much easier when you got one person doing one color and you're just going behind them and doing the others.
Yep.
Oh man, I feel like if anybody ever wants to get an army painted, that's what you should do. Just bribe a friend or your girlfriend or partner or whatever and be like, yo, let's do this.
When your kids get older and they actually like want to try, like I've used I'll give you a quarter a model that you paint like their staff black and this, like, and I'll set both my kids up in a line and I'll march them down through and I'm like, come on, let's go.
Assembly line.
These bitches painted. I don't give a shit. We're getting them done.
I mean, with the advent of Slapshot, man, like that's how most of my stuff is painted. Some of the stuff I'll do like a little bit extra work on, like my overend model. I did a little bit of extra highlighting and stuff on there, but like Slapshot makes it. I'm just like, bam, dude, color in the lines, we're good.
That's right. I'm not one for good paint jobs.
Oh, I love a good paint job. I really do.
Oh, I do too. I just can't do it very well 90% of the time.
I have to have someone to do it for me.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for it. Now, I will say, my boy Pat, if I've ever seen somebody who probably should be into painting models, like that dude has done some of the best stuff I've ever seen. So, if you ever get a chance to see anything, maybe I'll get you to paint one of my units or something to give you guys a chance to look at. Like he's one of those like dudes who doesn't take commissions or anything, but like a low key actual talent. That's the guy.
Nice. That's where it's at.
I gotta glaze my boys a little bit.
Okay, so you have a bit of a drive time. You played some on TTS, and you kind of knew you wanted to play competitively. Did you have how did you get, I guess, find competitive events to start playing? And when did you decide you wanted to attend US Nationals?
It was pretty much from the time that I knew that there was going to be any kind of a competitive scene for this game. I immediately was into it. I went on YouTube looking for stuff and actually found Sunday Slaughter. When a lot of those games that the shirtless beefcake dude was in there, putting his making some great content in there. So I watched like all of those, all that stuff, and found stats basically through the YouTube channel and stuff, and then once I found out that stats existed and I found that there were tournaments, I just kind of blindly signed up and showed up, and no one really even knew who I was. So I just like showed up at locals and was like, "Hey man, that's me right there. I'm gonna play this game with you guys." And like didn't meet the group, didn't introduce myself. Just was like, "Hey, I'm playing this now." So
that's awesome though.
But
that they kind of like welcomed you pretty easily. Like, oh, come on in. I'm sure.
Yeah, I actually showed up and I heard him like when I walked in the door. They were like, "Who is James Craven? Somebody know who this guy is?" I was like, "Oh, by the way, that's me. I'm over here." So yeah, those the guys over at Level Up Gaming over there are great guys. There's Trevor, Jalen, a couple of those guys. There's Ronnie and some guys. Great guys to game with. Doesn't matter what game you're playing. They play like a plethora of stuff over there. They've always got events going on. Same thing over at Gopher Games, where you got Brendan and you got Chase and those guys that are down there doing stuff all the time. So if both of them are great shops with a lot of events going on. So if you are in the area, or you're going to be anywhere in the Long Beach, Mississippi area, where I'll be running tournaments over here at Adventurers Tavern, hopefully. Don't hesitate to stop in and see those guys and be like, "Hey, heard they were Legion, Song of Ice and Fire, like any of those games, like they've got groups there."
Nice. And this community is so awesome. Like, you just show up, play some games. Everybody's super happy. They love to meet new people. They love to show, especially if you don't know the game, someone's gonna sit there and talk about it with you and help you out. I've never seen a game community like this. Like, everybody's so helpful.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the community is that it seems like most people are kind of like, "Hey, do you know what this thing does? Don't just blindly walk into this because it'll tear you apart." So it's a big thing for me to like also do that for newer players. Be like, "Hey, don't walk your Rose Knights into Oberon poison because it's bad."
True.
Now, speaking of the Oberon, one of my questions was when you were building your lists, what was in your kind of in your game plan on how you built your list? Your lists are awesome, by the way. Like, I went through them during the stream and afterwards, like playing them myself. I played a game with your Oberon list a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. It worked perfect. What brought you to those choices for your commanders? And what were you trying to counter and or make yourself good at?
So playing Harmon Uller is just kind of a hey, like, this is a solid army. It's relatively sustainable. It can hit hard. It's got a bunch of different, like, it's got like the all comers. Like, it's got all these different tools in here, and nothing in here is easy to like one shot or get to. And so it's just kind of like my general, like, hey, you're gonna have to fight this. And fortunately, with Martells, they play kind of the way I like, which is a very like patient kind of like, hey, let's position, force a scenario kind of thing, and then if we can force the game to go longer. Just for me, it's like I play so much because I don't play like one faction really. I don't switch factions very often at all. It just every now and then to just break up the monotony. But I pretty much played Martells and Martells only for like 3 straight years. So I kind of know my army in and out. So it's very easy for me to like kind of, just focus on like, hey, I know my army. Let me focus on what my opponent's army can do, and then just play a long game and get people to like make mistakes when the game goes longer.
Yep. That's what Martell players are waiting for. They're gonna slap you with a bunch of cards that are gonna take resources to get off, and then they're gonna wait for you to try and make a move, and then they're gonna jam Doom Tactics on top of it or some bullshit.
Yep.
What,
And it's
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, what did you think about the Doran change to his NCU?
Oh, the Doran NCU changes. I don't want to say that it's broken because I feel like bringing Water Gardens can backfire on Martells pretty steeply if somebody's wise into it.
Yep.
But if your opponent, especially anything where your opponent has a game plan where they are focused on taking individual zones like, bags for brawn or shooting with swords, and they can't really like flex over to grab the Water Gardens to stop you, it is a nightmare to deal with. And then with all the positive benefits that gave to it now, it supports Harmoneller. I mean, really supports most Martell commanders very well because it allows you to just go dig for cards, force your opponent to do something on the table, which means that you can use your speed to get into weird spots, and especially if you leverage the swing turns where you're getting to go either last or getting to go first on the next round. You can really put people in some weird spots.
That's a good point too that I didn't think about. Is that when you claim the zone to expend his tokens, you don't have to expend his token, all 4 of them. You don't have to wait to get 4. You can expend 1 a round. You can spend 2 the next round or whatever you got, but you don't have to wait to build up those 4 to expend them like sometimes we're used to doing with some of these commanders or some of these NCUs. We have to build them up like Yorn and shit like that.
Yeah, he very much supports a very patient game, which is exactly what Harmoneller wants. And giving, having Harmoneller having reinforcements and the stuff that he already, and the Iron Resolve, and then you've got, Varys in there healing and drawing cards, which is primarily what I bring Varys for. And then Doran's doing the same thing. It's like you can. It's one of the things like you can build up such an advantage if your opponent isn't aggressive enough, that you can kind of just like outrun most of the game just by like denying them the scenario long enough for your advantage to start cranking up around round 3 and 4.
Even
I mean, props. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say props to the devs. I actually really like the design of Doran. I almost feel like he's course correction or guiding, especially for like newer players, to kind of play into that patient play style. With Martells, you don't have to charge in and be super aggressive and charge in round 2. It's almost better to take your time, set up, play that late game, because the benefits for Martell start ramping up the later in the game you get. And I feel like that helps the Martell player, but B, I feel like we also saw that in a lot of Meaux's games, which we'll get to later. But yeah,
did you feel
credit too?
Did you feel concerned that the time constraints were going to be negative for Martells? I know a lot of Martells players feel like to get like he was just saying, to get the most out of your cards, you want it to be those later rounds. Were you worried at all about any of the time or moving fast or any of that?
No. For me, 2 hours is plenty of time, especially with a good opponent who's not stalling or like overthinking. And I'm not accusing anyone of that one right now, but like somebody who's not like taking like just a ridiculous amount of time to make moves or whatever. Like there's more than enough time in a 2-hour tournament for you to be able to think out your moves and do everything. And if you are concerned about it, honestly, learn your army. The more you know your army, And because your opponent will always have different stuff that you don't know, or there'll be something there that you can't know everything in the game all the time. Especially with the frequency of updates, which I do love. But if you know your army in and out pretty much all the time, you can make up a lot of the difference in the clock, or like get a lot of that time back on the clock, just by knowing what you can do and having a game plan and sticking to it.
That's a good point. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I can't stop looking at Kurt bobbing back and forth.
Just trying to get the camera to focus.
For him. I thought I was watching Muhammad Ali, or watching the Tyson Jake Paul fight here for a minute. He's just fucking weaving in and out. Sorry.
Tell me about your road to nationals. Did you attend a qualifier? Did you win, or did you have to buy a ticket? You played at the Level Up Gaming in Pensacola?
It was actually a rough go of doing it for a little bit there, because I went to the qualifier in New Orleans and lost a close game in the final top table to Brendan. Like, basically came down to, if I charge you and you die on like 6 or 8 wounds or something like that, with like a fully beefed up Obara, because I'm a Chad and I think Obara is fun. And I was like, I'm charging Obara in there. If she connects and kills you here, then I win the game, and if I don't, then I lose. And it wasn't until like after the game that I was like, man, I really made a mistake. I could have trounced that McGregor, probably killed him, because he had a Valor. I was like, I probably could have done that. He had a panic token and everything. I could have won the game that way. Didn't see it until way after the game. Beat myself up over it because I dropped the third. And at the time, they were saying like, hey, it's only going to be 2 people from each area.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to buy a ticket anyway. Like, I was pretty set. My girlfriend, Lauren's most supportive person I've ever been with, and like knows the kind of stuff that I want. She was like, hey, like, we're going to go. If that's what you want to do, we'll figure it out.
That's awesome.
So I was going to buy a ticket. And then Brick came in, like, the knight in potato armor that he is, and was like, no, that's not right. It should be the top 4 from everywhere. And then they got all that fixed, got all the invites out. And between Brick and Evan and those guys, like, it turned into a great event. And like, we had to fly up. Which like, I brought my kids, and my girlfriend was like, hey, if we're gonna go, like, the Mall of America's there's all this great stuff, like, we can just bring the kids too. So we ended up flying up with all 3 kids. So it was an adventure, to say the least, but it was probably it was definitely the best event that I think I've ever been to, just as far as like numbers and pricing, quality of opponents, like venue, like legit, probably one of the best. Like, I expected it to be cold too.
Yeah,
and
I did too.
It was not at all, but
which was weird. I
was hoping
showing up in shorts that day was like, we're in Minnesota.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you the secret. I always play in shorts, even if it's cold outside. I wear shorts to the club, because there's no way that I'm showing up at the
It's probably going to be hot inside. Yeah,
it's either going to be hot inside. This game makes my brain smoke. So,
well, no joke on the quality of opponents. You drew Data League round one.
Round 1. It does say we.
Yeah, that was he's a very high quality opponent. And as soon as I know the guy. I watch, like, one of my goals is always to get up on the top 10.
Mm-hmm. I think he's number 1 US right now, right?
Yeah.
No, I dropped some points because I went and played some bad games on TTS, and I was like, all right, we got to stop this. But I think I was number 2, so I think Data was still above me for a hot minute there. But he's a super high quality opponent, and drawing him first round, I was like, I didn't expect to win nationals, because I know how good some of these guys are. And I know some of the names that are there. Brett, which I don't know any of these guys personally or anything, but like I've seen the names, I've seen that they've won things. You know, the guys are not slouches at all. Kurt himself, you know, I watched Kurt win LVO a few years ago on that. Was like, that's where I want to be, you know. So I like saw that and I was like, I didn't expect to win nationals. I wanted to go there. And I was like, as long as I play well and I come out of it with a decent record, I'll be happy. My goal is to win, but you know, we try to make it realistic so that we don't, you know, hurt my own feelings in there when something happens. And I was like, I drew Data Link round one. And I was like, you know, I figured I'd lose a game. I didn't think it was going to be the first one. And fortunately, he had a bit of an ill-fated charge with Victorian that let me get enough points in there dealing with Victorian and scoring points and stuff that I was able to outlast that because it was tight and he got very close to bringing it back.
Yeah, the game.
I mean, you got a ton of points destroyed.
Yeah, the game.
It was just the victory points that
was wins a winner. So that's a very you can win that game mode without killing much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good win there, and especially doesn't Vic have the auto 6 charge? What the hell's he? Charges. He's got auto 6 charge. You wait for that card to come. You dig for that shit.
I mean, it was one of those things. Like I can't comment on like what he did have or didn't have, but he basically like made a charge in, and we had Doom tactics and stuff like kind of ready to go, and just kind of blunted most of it. It's unfortunately, you know, like I stand by putting Harmon Eller in sand skirmishers. Like it helps them be tanky enough that they don't just get obliterated when they get hit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like 4+ armor that helps them so much.
Yeah, they're deceptively survivable.
Yeah.
And you put Iron Resolve on there, and all of a sudden, you know, you're really it's really giving you the survivability that you need. Unfortunately, most people, you know, Crown is usually one of the last things that anybody takes.
Yep.
So usually, if you take Water Gardens and then you take one of the other big 3, like either bags, letters, or swords or horses, I guess big 4, I guess the big ones. Crown is usually the last one that's left open. So you can almost always get Crown and then activate Harmon Eller and get 2 wounds back.
Yep. And
so,
you played Harmon Eller versus Greyjoy or versus Vic in that first round 1 win. And then round 2 was honed and ready. You played Kieran.
Nightwatch.
Yep. That's the person from New Jersey.
Yeah, he was a great opponent. Gave me a sticker for "Don't put Rising Temps on me or I'll cry."
I got one too.
I immediately took it to my computer. I'm like, I'm going to keep this forever. It's my prize.
Did you stick Rising Temps to him?
I put Rising Temps on him twice.
Yeah.
That game, it wasn't for later. It was a good game against him. It was kind of one of those like I felt like I put some things in some places that they probably should have gone, and then it kind of just worked out for me. And then when we tried to bring it back, it kind of came the rally came a little bit later than anticipated, I think, and basically like Harmon Eller had already kind of got the battle endurances turned up and had scored a few points, and it was kind of like, okay, well, it's just not a winnable situation at that point. But I mean, he played great. You know, he put his Shadow Tower Spearman like on that center objective and sat there in a bog and was like, "Come do something about it, dog."
And that's what you got to do with those Shadow Tower Spears. You got to make them a pain in the ass to deal with. And you
put him somewhere where your opponent can't do anything about it.
Yep, you beat him 10-7. He didn't kill any points versus you.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I think I can't remember if I actually lost. I lost one. I lost one unit to Data Link.
Yep.
I lost one unit to no, I don't think I lost any units to. Yeah, I think I only lost like my first game. I only lost like the one unit, so I was like pretty good about that because it's usually for me like the thing I care about most is I'm like as long as I'm not just dying, I feel like I have a pretty good shot at most games.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about the mirror match? Because in round 3, you're going up against Magikarp, who's also running Martells.
Yeah,
it's also the
as a
only
general
place
rule,
you ran Oberyn too.
Yeah, I do not like Martell mirror matches. Most because I don't want anybody doing to me what I'm doing to everyone else. But I just, in general, like mirror matches are not the most fun I have in the game. I don't care what it is I'm playing. I don't like it. I know it's a thing that's just going to happen, but I didn't bring Oberyn specifically for the mirror matches, but in a game like I believe it's Dance with Dragons. I played on that.
Dance with Dragons.
Yeah. So one of the big things for me in Dance with Dragons is get a token and get away, and then make like let them have the other one, and then let them try to fight me over the center and kill their units as they try to fight me over that objective. But he did not bite on that very hard at all, and basically brought Damon up on hard on my left and kind of shot me to pieces. So I grabbed the 2 center tokens and then started running away. And then used Walder in such a way that like I was able to end of the round move away on his turn, attack Repo out of the back even further, and then take the turn and start and grab horses and move out of the way again. So like using Walder to basically make an escape with the center token, and then it's like, ooh, go kill my other units. I don't really care if you do that very much. I specifically put stakes on that far left token, just so that it was like, hey, you have to spend at least a round killing the stakes before you even get the token. So for me, that was probably one of the harder games I had, just because it kind of like he had a really good card draw in the early parts of the game and had like the coordinated plotting and stuff really early, and was able to get some very good hits in there and kill one of my. I think he killed my skirmishers really early.
Yeah, he killed something worth 8 points,
which is probably my skirmishers, I believe. Yeah, it was skirmishers, and then the rest of the game was me just kind of backing into the corner with the tokens and then using the cavalry and everything to harass his skirmishers to where he couldn't really effectively get enough attacks in to actually finish me off.
That
so that was kind of
is good strategy for anybody watching. You took the tokens and you backed up. 90% of people in this game, especially in the US, I don't know about you abroad, but a lot of people in this game, they pick up the token and they keep going. They put their head down and I'm gonna swing. I'm gonna keep swinging until I chop something down. Now,
the only way you can do that, in my opinion, is if you're playing something like Baratheons and you bring like Kingsman with Ramsey and Reek or something like that, and you're like, okay, engage me. I would love that. It would be my favorite thing. Otherwise, get the tokens, get out of there. Don't. And I'm gonna be honest, just between us here, I hate Dance with Dragons.
It's horrible.
I know it's because I'm a mobility army, but I hated it when I played Baratheons. I hated it when I played Starks. Which I had, there's only because I had a buddy who left his army here, and I played him for a little while. And then I hated when I played Martells. Like, I would probably honestly rather play Banners and Butchery.
Oh.
I know it's sacrilege to say, but Dance with Dragons like just makes me hate myself.
Especially if you get bogs and if you get stuck with a player that's gonna put 2 fucking bogs on 2 objectives and you're moving.
When you have 3 And when you have the battlefield terrain, you can't control if there isn't a bog. Yeah.
I would definitely put bogs on both tokens and then play over and watch you activate and give you -2 speed. And be like, cool, man, I'm glad you have those tokens.
I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you to death while you're stuck in the mud, you dumb fuck. You ran into the bog of stench to grab the dragon egg. Good job. Now you're stuck there.
It's like that video of like the mud wizard in like Germany or whatever, with like the police like falling over in the mud, and the guy in the brown coat.
Yeah, it's just one of those like, just don't do it. Don't get baited into going in there and fighting over tokens that you can't escape with. And don't be that guy who like takes Lance Cav and charges into the side of some guy and then picks the token up, and then your Lance Cav just never get back into the game. Like, don't. I've done it. Don't do it to yourself.
But they
You'll
got
be
a
sad
double
about it.
move,
Like, I don't know why I paid 8 points.
They got a double move.
Man, it's not enough. It's not enough, baby. I'm telling you, it's not enough.
Bog down your 8-point unit to a movement of 2+2.
I'm not a fan of games that want you to play a scenario and then punish you for playing it. Like, I feel kind of the same way. Home and ready is a little bit easier because, like, well, you can kind of bring one of your more durable armies and deal with it, but it's like there's no way to deal with the fact that it just has like 2 speed on there. There's like, if it gave you -2 speed, I'd be like, okay, a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah.
But when it just says flat 2, yeah, you're just like, okay, man, I guess I just won't play.
I mean, Feast for Crow is kind of the same thing. You kill an unit, and then they start outscoring you. It's like, well, okay.
I have definitely lost games because I did what I was supposed to do and killed a unit, and then people have like backed away and sat on the token, and I was like, isn't this supposed to, like, aren't I supposed to be getting the benefit for killing you? Like, it really feels like when I kill you, I should place the corpse pile.
Yeah.
Like, it feels very backwards to. I mean, I guess it's like a comeback mechanic or whatever, so that like your opponent doesn't lose a unit and completely get shut out of the game. But it just feels like it's a trap.
Yeah. Round 4 was, you were talking about Here We Stand. You ended up playing against a Targaryen. That's probably one of the better modes to play versus a Targaryen is Here We Stand. So kind of lucked out there, I think.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, the guy I played was great. Was great. He was like a fun person to play into. But there was like a wall on the center objective, and I put Harmoneller up there with the hopes that he would try to put Khal Drogo into it to try to kill Harmoneller. And he did, but then superior positioning happened, and new superior positioning is. I won't say it's good. I'm not gonna give it that. But especially with your commander now, it actually does something.
Yeah.
Most of the time, and it actually feels really nice when somebody's like, "I'm gonna charge you." Oh no, this went horribly.
Yeah. Oh no.
It's a 5-up now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 up into your commander, but only for your commander. But so he made that charge, didn't get the Harmoneller kill, and then it was kind of like Harmoneller just backed up and just started shooting. But on the initial attack, he didn't see so good, so he missed. But then the rest of the attacks all kind of went in pretty easy. And it ended up killing Khal Drogo first, and then he made a bold move to try to push his one of his outriders into the back line. And unfortunately, that didn't really pan out either because Jorah couldn't get up there to support him. And then it kind of just turned into a cleanup after that. He was a good opponent, but I think it was one of those like calculated risks kind of things. Like, if he makes it, he's a fucking genius. If he doesn't, then he's like, oh well, I look a fool now. So
And he had 2 Carl Drogo lists too. He had one in Blood Riders and one in Screamers.
Yeah, I think I expected dragons a bit. I can't remember if he had dragons. I think he did have one list with dragons.
Yeah, he did.
And I expected dragons, which I think I'm like 17 out of 20 for killing dragons on table. Like, there's been like one game where I haven't killed every dragon on the table in the entirety of my song career.
The Dragon Hunters.
So I was hoping for dragons. I was like, he puts dragons on here, I'm Gucci, dude. Like, we got this in the bag now. And it didn't see dragons, but they can't all be winners.
No, and that list, the one that has dragons in it, is a 5-2 list with 3 Screamers.
Yeah, I really thought the 3 Screamers would have been the better run, just because, like, WoW Screamers are a bit oppressive.
Yeah.
Right now, 6 points, but,
I would say so.
But also, I mean, like, Martells don't like being shot, so bringing all that extra shooting isn't the worst thing either, so. Yeah, he was great. He kind of made the calculated move, and it didn't really work out for him. He got pretty close to sending Harmonoer to the Shadow Realm, but he didn't believe in the heart of the cards. So
your round 5 game was Feast for Crows. That was versus Matt Landby.
Yep, a pretty good start player.
Yep.
I've played him online before. Good player, good guy. I felt a bit bad about the game with him because he definitely missed some things that could have made it more of a game. But when we got to the point, like one of the points, he forgot to rally cry, and it left him on 1 wound. And then I went Water Gardens and sniped that unit. Yeah, and it was like, he was like, oh no, I forgot to rally cry. And I'm like, normally, in any situation, even in a competitive game, if we hadn't already went through a couple of other moves, I probably still would have been like, hey, it's fine. We haven't gone very far. I haven't shown you anything that you didn't know I already had or something. And I would have been like, yeah, man, do it. But it was like we'd already went through another move, and then I went Water Gardens and killed it, and other stuff had happened. We can't really rewind the game far enough to undo that. And then he had a card in his hand he forgot to play, but I'm like, that's just.
I feel you.
It's one of those things. Yeah, I hate it because it's one of the things I never want to win because I always want to win. I'm weird, maybe. I don't want to win a game where I don't feel like my opponent was able to play their best game, because when I win, I want it to be one of those things where I won because I was the best at that time.
Yep.
I don't want there to ever be like, oh, that guy was doing steroids accusation,
You want to earn it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa thing here.
Baking your dice.
Yeah, I really want to be able to feel like I earned those wins. So when he made his mistakes, I was like, it sucks. I feel bad. Yeah, so that was that game. I felt bad about it, but it's you gotta do what you gotta do.
And it's US Nationals. Get your shit together. Don't forget your cards.
I mean, the guy's a great opponent. I played him online before. Great guy, great opponent. Felt bad about it, but I'm like, it's the highest competitive event in the U.S. I'm not one of I'm always, when I play my games, even when I'm playing competitive games, if you're rolling a panic check and you're like, oh wait, don't look at those dice, I have a card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, cool. I'm not gonna bust your ball over the timing of a specific card or something, as long as it's you clearly meant to do this and look in your hand like, oh yes, this has to happen. But after I've then made moves in response to what you've done, it's like, okay, we're at a point now where unfortunately we can't go back to this.
Mm-hmm. No takey back.
So it feels bad, but it's one of those things.
Catch it earlier.
So it's. But and then I mean, I'll be honest. At that game was the most critical one for me because I needed to. I felt like I was like, if I have any chance of getting to this, I have to basically crush this win, and then it has to be like a tight game between the other guys where they don't score anything at all. If I wanted any chance to get in the top table, and then very fortunately for me, they drew the game right next to me. And I was like watching it the whole time.
Oh,
Like,
so you were sitting next to him when Brett drew with what's his face. So you knew that if you crushed him, you would leapfrog him.
Well, and I sat there and watched it. And I was like, they either have to draw, or it has to be like a very narrow win with very few tertiary points scored. I have to crush this and like basically table him for me to have a chance to jump over, because all of my games earlier were tight games. Like I think I had like one crushing,
standard, narrow, crushing,
yeah,
standard,
Yeah, 2 crushings. Because you had 2 wipeouts round 4 and 5.
Yeah. So it was, which was that start game and the previous day's Targaryen game. That I was like, this is kind of like, if this doesn't happen, I'm basically playing for second place. So when I saw them draw, and I was watching their game kind of out of the corner of my eye the whole time. When I saw that they were going to draw, I was like, this is my chance. Like, this is where I'm going to get to go.
And they drew in the first half hour.
Yeah, basically admitted to each other that neither one of them was really going to do the engagement or test it. And I don't really know exactly what happened in their game, but it was they very quickly were like, okay, we can just play a normal game now that we've drawn. And I was like, yeah, this is my chance. Like the stars have aligned.
Yeah, that was
so. I got
opened the door,
and it was actually like a perfect storm kind of scenario because the guy that I played at the top table, Jordan, he a year or so ago, we went to, before we really knew who each other were, we went to one of the Rocket City Championships. And there was one guy unbeaten, and he was slated to go to like second or third or something like that, depending upon how his game went. And I had lost 2 games on the first day. I ended up going I think 4-2 or something like that in that one. But the top table, the guy who was unbeaten was playing Free Folk, and I got paired into him, and I played Obara. And I tabled him. So his crushing loss gave that tournament, that Rocket City Championship, to Jordan. I remember distinctly one of the guys in their Marietta Mummer shirts run over there and run the table behind us, being like, "Oh my God, he's gonna crush him. It's gone." I was like, "All right, man, play spoiler here." And then to get to top table at nationals to play him I was like, man, everything is everything's lining up just exactly how it had to for this to work out.
Now, Jordan had been running top table. I mean, he sat in there for all of day
5 games in a row.
5 games in a row. Because he beat. There was that weird snafu with the pairings in round 3, but other than that, it was boom, 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 Jordan with that machine gun list. At what point did you think, at what point did you feel confident that you would beat Jordan?
I try not to ever be too confident that I've won a game. Once it starts opening up to around 6 points, a gap that wide, and we're past a certain number of rounds, I'm like, okay, mathematically, there's just not a way back into it. But realistically, when I look at, especially when I go to a really competitive tournament like that one, I'm like, don't ever count an opponent out, because there is still always the chance that something can go like until they're mathematically eliminated, there's always a chance that something happens and you end up losing a game that you shouldn't have lost.
Yep.
Kurt, his issue with the sand skirmishers in that last round,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like it can happen. It can turn on you, especially in this game where like a really good player can turn it on you on a dime. Like with one good charge can just cripple you. I think I was holding my breath until I killed Braun. And once I killed Braun, I was like, okay, he doesn't have. There's not enough left of Tyrion. Greg wounded. He can't afford. He's weakened. He can't afford to risk rolling ones, or put him over here next to the sand skirmishers with all the precision and shooting. And then I had my 2 units of cavalry stuck in with his knight. I was like, okay, this is where I feel.
Which those knights, I don't know why he took that corner and left everything in that corner, and then it took those knights 2 full rounds to get around to threaten anything. Whereas then if he would have not even spread out, but I think put those knights in more of a center location, I think he could have made that a lot closer, just with a little bit of easy deployment.
For me, I think the biggest thing especially I went back and watched the game to make, kind of like, kind of go back over it, see how much of an idiot that I was, because every time I play games, dude,
You always catch something. You always catch something.
Dude,
well, and I'm a
hilarious.
memer. I'm a memer when I'm playing games. I like to joke around, like I'm trying to have a good time, because I'm like, end of the day, it is still a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to have a good time, but I'm like, also, I'm an absolute idiot. So like, I'm like, how much Creed did I sing to myself while on? So, but so it's like watching back through the game. The Harmoneller play early, where I pushed Harmoneller into the Golden Company crossbows and they chopped them up.
Yep.
And then the beginning of the next round, he had to Tywin bomb to stop Harmoneller from just outright killing them.
Yep.
I think was the big one for me. That was the play of the game, because if he had left the knight in that corner, I could not have pushed Harmoneller up, but then he's eating cav charges on the other side of the table.
Yep.
In my opinion, like with Tywin, the best way that you can possibly use him, and the best way I've ever seen him used, is exactly like the way that Keijo does it, where he shoots you a couple of times, maybe takes a wound or 2 off of you, gets you into lethal range, and then he dumps the Tywin bomb and the lance cav charge into a single unit.
Yep. And just eliminate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, just get it out. And like Harmoneller and sand skirmishers, putting Harmoneller in the sand skirmishers was a thing, being like, I know that this is the unit that Tywin's going into. It, unfortunately, with it being a thing, it's like, I can protect myself a little bit, but because Tywin just turns them off, if my opponent does everything in the right order, none of it matters.
Yep.
So I'm very trepidatious about putting Harmoneller in there, but that's why I postured so heavily with the cavalry on the other side. As like, I need to 100% make him believe that this is where the fight's happening.
Yep.
Because
you did. You forced him to move out of that corner and focus on those cav, because he did not want those cav in his flank at all, into those double crossbows.
Well, I mean, and to his credit, I mean, that is the smart move to make, because if you let the cavalry get into the crossbows, they will just shut you down, and then it really doesn't, like, even if you kill Harmoneller outright, you still now have to put Knights of Casterly Rock with no real offensive benefits into Royal Guard.
Yeah.
Not a great fight. And if I'm shutting down your archers, which are your crossbows, which are the main source of damage in the list, if you can't shoot, you will just lose. So it was kind of a rock and a hard place type scenario. I do think if he had put the cavalry over there by the archers, it's a much more difficult game for me, because then I have to, Harmoneller has to do all of the work into Gregor and Tyrion.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of a, yeah, I mean, it's still doable. I've had Harmoneller just shoot Gregor off the board in a turn, no problem. I've also had Gregor just be like, nah, dude, 2-up armor, literally don't care. So it's I don't know, getting him to, forcing him to do that, and then forcing him into a position where he had to use Tywin early, I think is just kind of like the big one for me, because Tyrion doesn't have any way to really up the value offensively for any of his other units.
Yeah.
So as soon as the spike of Tywin, the threat of the spike of Tywin is gone, it's a much more manageable game.
Especially with Lance Cav only having 9 dice now. You're so it's such a, you really need to get 2-3 wounds off that unit before you expend a Tywin, and then if you don't have Tywin, you got to have another 2 or 3 more unit guys off there to even think about a one-shot lance charge. So you're talking about a rank now at least, maybe even a rank and a half. It does help, I think, the change to Lance Cav, I felt like did help a little bit for Nats this year, because it last year it was all Golden Company and all Heavy Cav and all Lance Cav, and I felt like this year it kind of evened out a little bit more.
I definitely think people took less Lance Cav, but also I think it's just for me anyway, I think it's just a matter of how people use Lance Cav. Initially, it feels like people want Lance Cav to all function, and I'm not saying this like that. Like people kind of want Lance Cav to function the way that Tully Cav did, where it's like I charge you, I do a bunch of damage to you, I heal any damage or whatever. I can actually charge you and then also stick in there. So losing the 1 die definitely stopped a lot of that, because you just can't grind anymore.
Yep.
But I think it just changed the role of Lance Cav, where Lance Cav are more now like counter punchers and finishers, whereas before people really wanted to use them as like the alpha striker. So I think taking the die off the top definitely kind of like changed the role, and I just don't think. And I'm not trying to speak bad on anybody. I don't want to sound like that fucking guy, but I think it's just like changing the way that you use them is really the big one.
I think we've said that for I don't know how many months about anything you use in this game. It's how you use it, it's when you use it, it's your timing of when you use it. It's not so much as like with 40K, where you're just 100% right at the dude. No, you do have to have some finesse in this game. You got to dance a little bit. Got to have the moves. You said you had your kids with you. I thought it was awesome. Your kids were excited and proud when they found out you won. I know my wife was over there kind of showing them the YouTube while we were interviewing you. Do they ever play games with you?
The two youngest ones are kind of too young to really focus in on the rules, and the big problem is that they're all pretty ADHD, so learning a rule set is hard. We do try to, me and the girlfriend are very much into like, hey, once, twice a week, or 3-4 times a month, we're like, hey, everybody put the devices away, get out here and play board games.
Risk.
Get out here. So we've got... we like to get more cooperative games, because the kids get mad at each other when they start losing. But there's some really great cooperative games out there. There's like a little cute ET game that we have where you're trying to get ET to the mothership. They love that kind of stuff, where they can, it's a lot easier to get them to work together on something. Because if it's competitive, somebody's fighting.
That sounds like my kids. Someone's walking up crying because his dad did world domination in like 15 turns of Risk. Sorry, kids. I don't pull no punches. We're playing Pokemon. My shit's going out. I'm throwing Hail Marys at your ass.
Yeah, dude, it's Kangaskhan with Comet Punch from turn 1.
Yep. um, so Nats was awesome. You won. The big question I have to ask first off: how the hell did you get all that shit home? All that other game?
So I'll be honest with you. I've been glazing my girlfriend up the whole show, talking about how great she is, all the great stuff. This woman is legitimately a problem solver. She was like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Maybe we can just go ship it from a UPS store. She was like, no, check this out. So when we had went to the airport, she got a thing. It was like a free trial offer of some kind of thing they give you. They give you a free check bag that we didn't need the first time. So this woman went and bought a whole other suitcase, packed all of the True Vine stuff into it, and then just checked it.
That's awesome. Well, I lost him. So she checked the bag for you? That's awesome, dude.
Yep, she checked the bag. You can, when I'm on the game with her and Nat, you can see me texting her because she was like, we're at the mall or whatever, like, let me know when the last round starts or whatever. She's like, I want to be there, like, when you play the final round, like, I want to be there. And I was texting her about what was going on. And right there at the end is where she showed up with the kids and everything. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, Kurt? I have one more question.
Storybook ending there, you know.
Yeah, brought the kids, did all that stuff, and then like I said, it was one of those things like I never actually expected to win Nats, especially for it being my first time traveling to any major like national level competitive event of any kind in any game.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched like I think I've watched everything on Sunday Slaughter. I watched the live streams of like Kurt winning LVO. And just like watching those games and seeing people like win these, I'm like, okay, like I could do this. I could be that guy. So
It's not hard.
very validating to show up and be like, hey, you know, first time, baby, 100% win rate.
That's right. Actually, I have two questions. First one, where do you go from here? You going to play abroad? You going to the UK Invitational?
Did you crash out?
No.
Oh, you lagged up there. I couldn't hear what you said. Sorry.
That's all right. Where do you go from
Look
here?
into the future.
Where do you go from here? Where do you plan to play at the UK Invitational this year? Coming up?
100%. We are already in the process of putting our passports together. We've been looking at the tickets and everything. I'll be Venmoing Kurt some money for the team tourney. I'll be getting definitely be participating in the invitational because for me, without there being an actual worlds type thing, the invitational is the closest to like an actual world championship that I think that there is. And for me, it's like winning US Nationals is fantastic. I could not be happier with it. But it also means that if I can win US Nationals, I can go and win the Invitational. And those guys are the best of the best. You know, like not talking any trash, but I don't see any American flags on the front page stats. So
time to change that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, for me, I'm like, I want to go up. I want to try to, like, even if I don't win, it's the same philosophy for me all the time. It's like, I want to go in there, I want to put in a good showing, I want to play some good games, some good, fun games with great opponents, and I want to see what I'm made of. So I would definitely, unless something, unforeseen happens, my plan is to make it to the Invitational and give everybody a run for their money.
Yeah, with Martels, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't play anything else. So,
last question from me, at least. So, you didn't have to draw Kurt at US Nationals. If you would have played Kurt in the final round, who would have won? Stannis, the Manus, or Harmon Uller?
I don't think he would have seen Harmon.
Ooh, he would have saw Oberon.
You'd have got I'd have
Some
put
Oberon. Mm-hmm.
Oberon in the poison. Like, statistically speaking, the reason that I really like that Oberon list, I only played it like one time before I brought it to Nats. My intention was for it to be the Baratheon counter. Just because I'm like, it's a lot of auto wounds, and if you per se get the Oberon charge in, put the venom and everything on Walder, put the if you have to, put the all 3 tokens on that unit, and then take first on the next round, and you swing the momentum back to your side. One Ilaria to swords then does almost half the unit in auto wounds.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And so for me, I'm like, hey, Kingsmen, all that stuff, this is what this is for, is to be like, hey, we're going to get engaged, but then I'm never going to actually let you fight me.
I'm inclined to agree. I think Martells have some good tools for Baratheons, and the Oberon Poison completely shuts down my Stannis list of sticking one True King and Kingsman and healing up, and every time I pass a panic test, healing the wound. And he has that Oberon. I have the Crescent, so we both can like steal initiative for one round.
That's what I was going to ask. So
even my other list, like Barney Penrose list, still relies on healing. So I think it was
an anti-Crescent tool. If you is Walder claims when? Because Walder's at the other.
Walder takes first player, but Crescent goes before first player. He doesn't care about first player.
Okay.
So I think in like a head-to-head thing there, I think Crescent would take priority. But yeah, I still think just Oberon in by himself is a nice tool against Baratheons.
So
and my match against Trial Fam was very indicative of that too.
So you're conceding to second place?
Well, we'll see. I think he'd have the edge. He certainly has the standing to claim.
Well, I would
being reigning U.S. champ.
I'll say the same thing about a matchup like that. I'd say anything else is that when you have a good player and a player who knows their army and is practiced and is good, like, I mean, let's be honest, LVO is a national level event. If he can win that, he can win nationals. So
that's when
it's to
tech
say
approach is
that
broken.
tech approach has never been broken.
Thank you.
I'm going to defend Baratheons on this one. I don't think something that is start of the round and makes you trade tokens for it, and is only a consistent 3 wounds on your one commander unit that is likely to be very slow, is broken. I think it's something you have to play around, but I don't think that it's. I don't think it's a. I don't, especially for like a commander card when his other commander cards don't do that much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's broken. I think it's totally fine. And tack approach is just something that you know that it's coming, but because it started around, like, it's not a surprise.
Right.
There's no oops, gotcha, set for charge, and then retreat out of the way or something. You never get to make an attack. It's not a whoops, gotcha thing. Like, you know it's coming, and if you don't plan for it, then go home, be a family man.
Sonic Boom. I knew I liked this guy.
I told you. I said it. I called it first. God damn it. So, I do want to thank you again for hanging out with us. I know it took a little bit longer than we anticipated, so thank you again for being patient with Kurt's lazy ass and never getting around to his computer.
God, really fucking letting us down, dude.
Man, culpa.
Dude, you're really seasoning us here.
Wow,
No.
that was a
Season
big
8.
shot.
Woo.
That was a big shot. I don't even know if we can come back from that one. Shit. So, thank you again for stopping out, Mo. I appreciate it. congratulations again on your US 2024 National Championship. And hopefully it will turn into a invitationals an invitationals championship that we can bring back to the U.S. on top of our heads, screaming and drink. Is it an actual cup that we're winning? Because if there's a cup, we're drinking out of it. You know that, right?
Oh, dude, we're doing shoeies out of the cup.
No, for sure. Like
there's no way we win a cup and we don't like it's happening.
No. Even if it's not a cup, if it's some stupid piece of glass, we're going to buy a cup and we're going to name it the cup and we're going to drink out of that. That sounds good.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If we go over, and I'm not going to say anything because we know how good some of these guys are over there. It's very obvious there's some very talented guys on that side of the field. We go over there and we win. If we could win the team's tournament, if one of the I would like to win invitationals, but if it's not me, if it's still one of our American guys, if it's a British guy, I don't care. I'm down to have drinks with the winners. So
100%. It ain't even drinks with the winners. We're having drinks with everybody. We're in fucking the UK.
Oh yeah.
We're on vacation. What are we gonna
now? Do? I'm old, so I'm a bit of a lightweight. So we might have to. Some of those drinks might have to be water if we're going that deep.
Yeah. You can't be that old. You're not older than I am. That's for damn sure. So
it's more about mileage. Like I've not been a good person.
Mileage. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint, boys.
Oh shit.
We've been some places. We've seen some things.
Fuck my life. My life's been a sprint. I'm fucked.
I mean, look, man, you're running like this other Slaughter YouTube channel. It's all looking up for me, dude.
All up. So again, thank you for hanging out. We'll touch base with you before Nats. I'd love to get you back on and just shoot the shit with you every once in a while and kind of tell us what's going on in the southern half of the U.S. We don't get much song info from the southern half of the U.S. up here.
Yeah.
Hey, well, feel free anytime you guys want to, have me on, drop me a line. I'll come in here and crack some jokes and talk some bullshit. I'm glad this isn't a family-friendly show because I've thrown that out the window pretty quick. But yeah, man, I'll definitely keep it updated for anybody that's in the Metairie area. Actually, there is a tournament coming up, December 3rd, Saturday, December 20.
I'm looking.
First
is the third Saturday. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So 21st, season's meetings happening down at Gopher Games.
Very nice.
If you want your crack at the US champ, come and get you some. I'll be there.
Anybody in the southern U.S. or southern U.S. head down there, give Mo an ass beating.
Dude, I'm donating Elo for Christmas. Come get you some. It's free.
That's a trap, by the way. That's the one dude dragging the dollar with the fishing line.
Oh, you gotta be quicker than that.
Thanks again, Mo, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, man. Peace.
Yeah, man. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
Now, hopefully we do get another episode of next week, but if we don't, I want to take this time to say it's been a great first year for Around the Seven Kingdoms. We're definitely excited to have more guests on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been a great year for song, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody.
Yep. Ditto coming from me. I feel like this year was awesome for Sunday, for Around the Seven Kingdoms, going to Nats, helping out wherever I could. It is always nice. Meeting the community is the best part of doing what I'm doing. I love hanging out with you guys. I've met some of my best friends in the world through this community. So I just want to pass that love and that friendship on to everybody else. So again, if I don't see you next week, which I'm going to because I have a guest. And we have a guest that is kind of an unknown. So I'm going to do it next week. And you're going to hold me to it because that's your job.
All right. I will. I'll hold your feet to the fire.
So we will get another one in. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.